Does your dog keep scratching himself? With recurrent otitis or unstable stools? Food allergy may be behind all this suffering, and the choice of diet makes all the difference. In this video, you will understand, without guesswork, the difference between BARF, raw natural food, and hypoallergenic food, the pros and cons of each approach, and how the elimination diet that veterinarians recommend as the gold standard for diagnosing food allergies works. You look at your dog and realize itching is not just a phase. The red ear comes back every week. The fur loses its luster. The stool oscillates. At some point in the day, have you ever thought, what if it's the food? Today, the screen answers, without drama and without guesswork, what really differentiates BARF from hypoallergenic food when it comes to food allergy. And at the end, you are given a decision framework to apply safely. Until then, hold this thought. Itching relief starts with a controlled plate. Food allergy is not a frills. It is a response of the immune system to specific proteins. In practice, the dog's body identifies a component of the diet as invader and triggers inflammation. From the outside, you see itching that doesn't go away, paw licking, recurrent otitis, occasional vomiting, loose stools that insist on coming back. Inside, the skin and intestine work in alert mode. That is why the serious protocol begins with an elimination diet. For 6 to 8 weeks, the dog eats only what has been prescribed. No snacks, no flavored teethers, no just today. It is in this discipline that the answer appears. Before comparing, mentally define 2 keys: control and consistency. Control is knowing exactly what goes into the dish. Consistency is being able to repeat this the same every day, for weeks, without slips. Allergy improves at the intersections between these 2 keys. Now position the options. Hypoallergenic food is a complete food formulated to reduce the chance of immune reaction. You can use hydrolyzed protein, broken down into small fragments, or unusual sources outside the circle of proteins your dog has already eaten. The proposal is to provide balanced and stable nutrition, facilitating the elimination diet, because each gram serves the test. Opening the bag and serving becomes part of the method. You control and repeat. BARF, biologically appropriate raw food, organizes the dish with raw meats, edible bones in safe portions, offal, and vegetables. The attraction in the context of allergy is obvious. Absolute control of ingredients. You can set up a monoprotein diet, exclude additives, and reduce noise. But along comes the trade-off. It needs the correct formulation to keep calcium, phosphorus, fats, vitamins, and trace elements in place. It needs strict hygiene to handle raw food, and it needs planning to freeze, thaw, portion, keep the cold chain, and avoid contamination. Control you have. Consistency requires method. What the tutor wants, in the end, is the same as what the clinician seeks. Objective signs of improvement. And these signs are not subjective. Itching drops from bothers all day to appears and disappears. Ears don't inflame every week. Stools gain predictable shape and frequency. Sleep becomes sleep again. This is where the comparison gets serious. Which path offers control plus consistency with minimal risk for your scenario? Imagine 2 parallel scenes. In the first, you open a package of hypoallergenic food. The same composition at each meal, meter in the same position, fixed time, fresh water. The clinical trial is grateful. The number of variables drops, and everything that happens, improves or worsens, can be attributed to the diet with fewer doubts. In the second scene, you set up a monoprotein BARF, single meat, offal of that same species in adequate proportion, measured vegetable fiber, no extras. You weigh, portion, freeze, thaw properly, clean surfaces and utensils, keep children away from the preparation area. The test also works, as long as each step is repeated the same for weeks. Between one and the other, there is no hidden miracle. There are different risk profiles. In hypoallergenic ready-made formulations, the strong point is standardization, calculated macro and micronutrients, batch-tested, simple logistics for the tutor. At BARF, the strong point is customization. You eliminate suspects one by one, adjust texture, energy density, palatability. The correct path is not measured by label, it is measured by clinical response under control. Put one more piece on this board. Real diagnosis takes time. Haste creates false negatives and unfair charges. Elimination diet interrupted by one snack resets clocks. Mixing options ahead of time, BARF plus commercial snacks plus when you can food, turns the test into noise. The entire video supports one principle. Consistency saves testing. So far, what is already clear to those who watch? That both ways can work when well applied. That the choice involves household routine, execution capacity, and veterinary monitoring, and that best option is the one that your dog tolerates and that you can maintain. When the vet prescribes an elimination diet, he is not asking for an internet home test. It's opening up an observation window where each variable needs to be under control. This is where many owners stumble. They introduce hypoallergenic food but offer a chicken biscuit in the afternoon. They ride a monoprotein BARF but give in to the dog's request when he stays around the table. The result is confusion. The protocol requires discipline because allergies do not respond in 2 days. The scientifically accepted minimum is 6 to 8 weeks. And within that range, each swipe resets the watch. In the hypoallergenic food routine, the scene is straightforward. Sealed bag, calibrated meter, consistent schedules. The dog always eats the same composition, and each meal serves as a laboratory piece. If the itching begins to reduce after 3 or 4 weeks, if the skin closes small lesions again, if the stool regularizes, the response gains solidity. No need to cook, freeze, handle raw meat. The microbiological risk is minimal. The trade-off is to accept the higher cost and deal with the possibility that some dogs simply won't respond, because even hydrolyzed or exotic proteins can, in rare cases, provoke a reaction. In the monoprotein BARF routine, the scenario changes completely. The tutor becomes an active part of the formulation process. A classic example, rabbit meat as a base. All cuts come from the same species, the viscera too. Edible bone is included in precise proportion to maintain the balance of calcium and phosphorus. No mixing chicken, just for a change. No improvised supplement. Everything weighed, portioned, frozen, and thawed in a sanitized environment. A clean sink, sterilized knives, separate cutting boards. It's laborious, but the level of control over the ingredient is absolute. And this control, if repeated consistently, allows you to observe clinical improvement in the same way that hypoallergenic food allows. But with additional risks, a freezer that breaks, meat handled carelessly, salmonella that finds a gap. This is why BARF, while effective, needs veterinary nutritional monitoring and periodic examinations to ensure that there is no mineral imbalance or hidden contamination. Both paths have their own pitfalls. In feed, the trap is false confidence, thinking that just buying the hypoallergenic formula has already guaranteed a diagnosis. At BARF, the trap is improvisation, thinking that a little bit of everything is still worth as a test. In both, the defeat comes from inconsistency. That's why the first clinical orientation always hits this key. Choose a path, follow without detours, record signs week by week, and the signs are not nebulous. The improvement is palpable. The dog that once scratched every minute begins to rest longer without interruption. The hair that fell in tufts gains a more uniform texture. The stools, which were soft or in chronic diarrhea, resume a stable shape and frequency. The otitis, which came back in short cycles, gives a respite. These are objective markers that the elimination diet is working. If nothing changes after 8 weeks, the conclusion is simple. It's not that diet. It is time to reassess, perhaps migrate from hypoallergenic feed to monoprotein BARF or vice versa, always by consultation. The decision is not romantic, it's technical. BARF and hypoallergenic food are tools, not miracles. One can work brilliantly in one dog and fail in another. And it's not about best in the absolute sense, but what delivers the combination of control and consistency that tutor can perform. The dog does not understand labels, understands the relief you feel or don't feel. And it is at this point that the doubt that haunts each tutor gains weight. When to end the test, how to interpret the answer, and what to do if both paths seem to fail. This answer, objective, applied with no room for guesswork, arrives in the next block. It is in it that you will see a decision board in which each scenario finds a clear way out. So far, all you need to keep is a recorded phrase. Food allergy does not forgive improvisation. The moment that every tutor expects arrives. After weeks of discipline, of looking at every itch, every feces, every sign, how to decide. This is where the video delivers on its promise. The decision framework is not a simplistic can or can't. It is a compass that crosses three axes: clinical response, execution capacity, and safety. If the dog responds well to hypoallergenic food, symptoms fall within 8 weeks. The skin heals, ears become inflamed, and the intestine stabilizes. There is no reason to change. The clinical response speaks for itself. The way is to maintain the diet, revisit with the veterinarian in periodic appointments, and ensure that consistency is maintained. The picture points out, hypoallergenic is the correct choice for this dog. If the food does not provide an answer, but the monoprotein BARF applied with discipline begins to deliver signs of improvement, the picture tilts to the other side. The tutor who manages to maintain hygiene, a reliable freezer, safe handling, and nutritional supervision finds in BARF a real relief. The chart points out, BARF is the right choice for this dog, not by ideology, but by sustained clinical response. What if neither of them shows results? The picture does not stop. It opens a new arrow. Reevaluate diagnosis. Food allergy can be confused with environmental atopic dermatitis, with parasites, with non-immunological intolerances. The next step is to return to the clinician, discuss new tests, consider new approaches. The mistake would be to insist on a diet that did not work as if it were dogma. The picture is clear. If there is no improvement, this is not the way. In practice, the decision does not depend on forums or fads. It depends on what the dog shows clearly throughout the test. If he rests better, scratches less, returns to play with more energy, if the tutor manages to maintain a routine without fail, if the clinical examination confirms evolution, the decision picture closes without a shadow of a doubt. That's the point. It's not you who decides alone, it's the dog's body that responds, and the clinician who interprets. In the end, the message that remains is this: food allergy is painful, but manageable. Between BARF and hypoallergenic food, there is no single throne. There is conscious choice applied with discipline, supervised with technique, and confirmed with results. The tutor who follows the protocol discovers sooner or later that the answer comes. And when it comes, everything changes. The dog returns to life without itching, and you look at it again without guilt. If this video delivered clarity, now it's your turn. Write in the comments if you've tried BARF or hypoallergenic food and what happened to your dog. Sharing experience helps other tutors who are lost in this same dilemma. Leave your like if you learned something new today, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next content, because in the next video we will talk about hidden intestinal health, the invisible cause of many chronic problems in dogs. The decision starts now. BARF or hypo? Your dog's body will respond, and here you already know how to listen to this answer. End.